So for anybody that doesn't know, you're a former CIA legitimate spy, which is crazy. And the reason I find that interesting is because you would have to be a master of psychology, your own and others. And this also gets into where we are in the world right now. I've heard you say that we are potentially already in the beginnings of World War III, which hits a little too close to home in terms of how I view what's going on. But here's a quote. The core element of being able to control a relationship is understanding the pink matter truth of feelings. What all people feel becomes their point of view on what reality is. So when you understand it and you learn how to manipulate how people feel, then you can essentially direct them to feel any way you want them to feel. Woof.
I mean, I sound like a sick bastard sometimes, man. Hearing my own words back to me, I'm like, what kind of evil person came up with that idea?
I'll assume that we're going to use these for good, both as a screenwriter and as an entrepreneur. The idea of being able to take somebody's perspective to actually think like they think is really important. So the idea that you capture in that quote is what I call frame of reference. Now, in my marriage, the biggest arguments that I have with my wife are always where I'll be saying to her, I'm not able to penetrate your frame of reference. And people feel a certain way. They see the world a certain way. And if you can't get inside that, then you're in trouble. And so what I like about the quote is basically what I'm taking from that is if you can see their perspective, the elements that cobble it together that make them feel the things that they feel, then you can steer that relationship. Now, again, I'll assume we're steering it for good for the purposes of this conversation, but I do really want to understand more about that. One, how do you take somebody's perspective? How do you build something where you can reasonably, not going to be able to mind read, but you can reasonably understand where they're coming from?
The first big thing that you hit on, and I'm gonna tweak what you said. It's not about getting into people's perspective. Most people don't have perspective. The average person has no perspective. They live in a world of perception, how they perceive the world around them. Most individuals, at least that's what we learn at CIA, individuals live with a frame of reference around themselves. They're the center of the movie. They're the star of the show. They're the center of the universe. That is an inherently human thing to do because humans in our evolutionary process and the pink matter that is our brains, we're always worried about survival. We've never outgrown that. The technological development and the technological evolution of the world has happened exponentially faster than the human evolvement, the human evolution of the world. So while you and I are sitting here in 2023, our brains work in essentially the same way as they worked in 1823. But the world around us is extremely different. We don't need to worry about survival anymore. Now we're supposed to be worrying about how to thrive, how to meet our objectives, how to meet our goals. If you think about it, humans just 200 years ago, humans had to worry about how do I make it to the next day? How do I just survive? They were always focused on the here and now and how do I make it work today so I can live again tomorrow. You and I don't worry about how to make it through today. Most people are thinking about, what am I going to do this weekend? What am I going to do next week? When is my upcoming vacation? We don't worry about the here and now. But the brain is still wired to live, first and foremost, in this survival mindset, this survival process. So the pink matter that exists in your brain and mine and everybody around us is still very much focused on the self as the most important element. And because of that, it views everything around the environment and around the individual through a lens of perception. What I perceive is real to me. To hell with what you perceive. What I perceive is the truth. My stepdad used to lecture me about perception is reality. Perception is reality, Andrew. Perception is reality. And I disagreed with him from the time I was 12 years old. I was like, no, Dad, reality is reality. If I perceive a car coming down the road and it is in line to hit me, if I perceive that it's not going to hit me, it doesn't make a difference, right? Reality is reality. What CIA taught me was a better way of explaining what reality actually is. And reality is that 98% of human beings are trapped in their own perception. So the 2% that live in the real world that have perspective, they are able to manipulate the perception of everybody else.
Okay, so when you were in training, did you have to like? Are there like 5 bullet points or whatever that you begin to go? Okay, they're in survival mode. They're looking at the world through their own eyes. They have fears. Like, is there a framework by which you begin to understand the other person?
Yes, there is. It doesn't really boil down to 5 bullet points, but it does boil down to essentially like a handful of short lectures, right? But
walk me through it. So here's how I imagine you. I don't know if this is real or not, but the very first thing I wrote down when I started researching you was how the hell do you manage your own anxiety when you're in spy mode and you can't give yourself away, but you have to figure something out about that person. So I imagine you walk up to them, whatever that, framework is, the rubric that you're determining who they are by, I imagine it kicks in right away. How do you start categorizing them when you first walk up?
So when you first walk up to somebody, you've got to keep in mind that nobody is what they appear to be. Nobody. Every human being has 3 lives. It's what we're taught.
Ooh,
3 lives. There's a public life, a secret life, and a private life, right? So the order is public life, private life, secret life. The public life is what we're all presenting to each other. It's what we want to appear as in public, right? You want to look cool and suave and handsome, and you want to sound nice, and you want to surround yourself with nice things because that's what you want the public to perceive about you. It may not be real, but it doesn't have to be real. If they perceive it to be true, then you have won because you have just manipulated their perception. That's why broke ass high school and college kids will still wear nice name brand stuff so they don't look like they're broke ass students, right? I was one of those students, so I remember. Then you've got your private life. Now, your private life is what your closest confidants know about you. So what your wife might know about you, what your close friends know about you, what your parents know about you. So publicly, nobody knows my feet smell bad. Privately, my wife knows my feet smell bad, right? But I'm never going to make that part of my public persona because it goes against what I'm trying to display as an image. So here you've got these 2 lives. When you meet a stranger, they're presenting their public life. Always. Most of your connections, most of your friends, unless they are in the private life, they are all in the public life. Your coworkers, your customers, these are all people who you are dealing with, you're interacting with on a public life to public life level. We haven't even talked about the secret life, right? The secret life is the life that you don't share with anyone. It's that place where your darkest thoughts, your biggest vulnerabilities, it's where they live and convince you every day not to share them with your spouse, not to share them with your parents, the things that make you feel horrible about yourself, the things that you wonder if they're really true, but you're afraid to even ask the question because what would they think? They the public life, they the private life. How would people judge me? We all have a secret life too. For some people, secret life is big. For some people, secret life is quite small. But you've got these 3 lives. So when I approach somebody in spy mode or in business mode or in social mode, I know I'm dealing with a public life first. So
are you trying to peel beneath that?
Sometimes.
Like in spy mode.
In spy mode, I'm sorry.
No, please. This is so interesting to the average person. You have no idea. Like, this is like movie shit.
In spy mode, you have 2 objectives. Objective number 1 is to get into someone's private life as quickly as possible. Because unless you're in someone's private life, you'll never get into their secret life. Objective number 2, once you're in private life, is to become one of the few people that will ever penetrate their secret life. And there's only one reason why you want to penetrate someone's secret life. Because once you're there, you never leave. Once someone has trusted you with a secret life secret, their fealty to you, their loyalty to you is beyond question forever. Because they believe that you have earned that right to their secret life. They believe that you two are inherently connected, star-crossed lovers, soul matches. They rationalize it however they need to rationalize it. But essentially all they did is they just, in a moment of vulnerability, they let you into one of their deepest, darkest secrets. So they have been leveraged like debt. They have been leveraged now. So their deepest, darkest secret hinges on you keeping it a secret. And that is interpreted as loyalty. They interpret that as, this is the most trusted confidant. This is my most trusted lieutenant. This person gets me. This person understands me. I need to do life with this person. So when you're a spy and you get into someone's secret life, that means you get all the secrets. If they're a general in a nuclear program in a hostile country, you can just ask them a question. Hey, who are your missiles pointed at? What's the temperature that you guys use? Or how often do you enrich your uranium? What's your primary source of uranium? You can ask them anything because they don't even care about that. That's all stuff that they basically have in their private life. You're in their secret life. That stuff's yours. They'll just give it to you. The stuff they really care about is, I'm really not happy. I'm trapped in this marriage that was arranged by my parents. And what I really like is this kinky thing with this whatever that's going to get me, killed in my own country. But I can tell you about it.